Hello and welcome to this Microsoft Build session, Tech for Good, U.S. Innovators Making an Impact. I'm Microsoft Partner and Regional Director, Lynn Langett. Thanks so much for joining. We have a great panel for you, and I'm excited to have them share their stories. What we're going to do is go ahead and get started with our panel, and we're going to have the panelists introduce themselves. And let's start with Alex.
Hey everyone, I'm Alex Dunn, and I'm the Chief Product Officer at Voicify, as well as the founder and creator of Enabled Play.
Thanks, welcome. Next up is Brendan.
Hi everyone, I'm Brendan Eager. I'm an Associate Director of Information Systems and Analytics at Partners in Health, which is a global health nonprofit.
And also joining our panel, we have Jagan.
Hello everyone, I'm Jagan Paterju. I'm working as a software architect at RTI International. For my 24 plus years IT experience, I have worked with an array of development teams and business partners and seen how technology can improve teams, products, and organizations.
Wonderful, welcome. And also joining our panel, we have Kathleen.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Sheridan. I'm here today with Jagan Paterju. I'm a senior systems architect with the enterprise architecture team at RTI International. RTI is an independent nonprofit institute dedicated to improving the human condition.
Fantastic. Well, I'm really excited to hear about the work all of your teams are doing. So in this panel, we're going to have a two-part discussion. The first part is going to be the founders and the builders talking about what inspired them to build the solution that they chose to build and what the solution is. So we're going to go kind of once around the group, and in the second part of the panel, I'm going to drill in to the Microsoft technologies that they selected and get detailed information about their implementation and hopefully give you some patterns that you can use. So it was wonderful getting to know all these folks and listen for common themes here. One of the themes that I notice is the use of technology to improve the human condition, particularly around human health. And to that end, I'm going to, again, go in alphabetical order. So I'm going to invite Alex to talk about Voicify and Enabled Play.
Thanks, Lynn. So Enabled Play is a series of devices and services that help level the playing field for people with disabilities, enabling them, pun always intended, to control their computers, their games, their apps, and more with voice, face expressions, body gestures, a bunch of automation tools, and more. I saw the gap at a very personal level in the accessibility of technology as a whole from someone in my family that lived with a disability that affected his ability to play games with me and other members of my family. And that was a gap that I wasn't willing to accept. So I sort of started down this journey of building Enabled Play around a number of different Microsoft technologies, and I'm excited to go into to help level that playing field for everyone, regardless of their differing abilities.
Fantastic. Again, what you've built is an inspiration and really improves life for so many people. Next up, we have Brendan, who's going to talk to us about analytics in Partners in Health.
Hey everyone. My kind of why came when I had a quarter life crisis while I was in grad school, pursuing a career in corporate finance. And I was hearing a lot from my peers that, all these different kind of corporate finance careers that they were going to pursue. And I just really wasn't motivated to do any of those jobs. So I really wanted to focus on something that was having more of an impact and meaning for society. And I started looking at mission-driven organizations. I ended up working at the local government in New Orleans for a few years, but then I moved up to Boston and started working with Partners in Health. And at PIH, we believe that healthcare is a human right, and that we work to build a preferential option for the poor in healthcare, really making a kind of moral argument that you wouldn't just kind of give up on a family member or friend who was in a dire situation. And so we should really be challenging the world to do the same. And now at PIH, I get to help different teams adopt tools, kind of find efficiencies, help them with their data analysis, and then ultimately they can kind of better track any grant spending and objectives, fundraise for specific patients' needs, do advocacy work for local governments or multilateral organizations, and then also just keep track of all of our medical supplies and medicines that ultimately are saving our patients' lives. So I sort of started as this aimless finance student, but then kind of grew, brought those skills with me and kind of grew into this global and public health advocate.
Yeah, I really understand. Some in the audience might know that I've done some work in bioinformatics and cloudizing bioinformatics analysis pipelines. And like the two stories that we heard, my own journey from fintech into bioinformatics was driven by personal connection. A friend of mine had cancer and she was unable to get personalized treatment. And it motivated me to reach out and start working in bioinformatics. So I really understand that kind of motivation. Next up, we have a team, and so we're going to kind of split the information here. We're going to start with Kathleen, who's going to talk to us about her and Jagan's work together.
Thank you. At RTI, we have research teams worldwide that deliver reliable data with innovative technologies and sound techniques. And I don't build the models or collect the research data or even analyze the data. So my job is to collaborate with RTI's infrastructure team and research community to develop cloud-based solutions that meet their needs. So I've worked with developing communications technologies and network infrastructure for quite a few years now. And what has always delighted me about working with emerging technologies is that moment when you can see that the technology is actually going to make people's lives better. So this would be like the moment when it became clear to us when we were working with the early wireless phones that they were eventually going to be in everyone's pocket. And if your loved one was lost or in danger or alone, they could just call you. And horror movie writers the world over had to redo their scripts, which was awesome. So when I think about what really excites me about our move to cloud technology, despite its complexities and its risks, another sort of real life horror movie moment comes to mind. So after Katrina passed through, that day, many of us in telecommunications and networking were gathered together, and we were poised to help bring the networks back up. And we sat there listening as the water went down and the reports came in from the sites. The generators were fueled, the technicians were on site, but at site after site, there was nothing left to work with. Just concrete slabs that had been scrubbed bare by the storm, empty. And this was in a situation where getting a single message through could save a life. So that led to the heartbreaking question, wasn't there some way we could do better? So this brings me to what excites me most about cloud technology and CI/CD pipelines, which is no more being hostage to the bare concrete slab. So deploying with cloud technologies means geo-redundancy and redeployability. And when that's combined with mesh networking developments and the widespread adoption of wireless technology, it means resiliency and recoverability. So technology in the service of humanity for our researchers, that boils down to an equation of good data leading to good decisions. And for me, it means having the ability to provide resilient and recoverable solutions that are there when the research teams need them, wherever they are, whatever circumstances they find themselves in. And our Azure computing environment and our DevOps CI/CD pipelines help make that possible. In a few minutes, Jagan will walk you through a more detailed view of how we've implemented an API framework for RTI applications using the Azure Cloud Resources and the DevOps CI/CD pipelines. Thank you.
Fantastic, thanks. Well, we are builders, we are technologists, and Kathleen gave us a kind of an introduction into the work she and Jagan are doing. And now, once again, we're going to go around the group, and the frame that I want in terms of answering the question is, which of the Microsoft technologies did you select to build your solution? And what, from a high level, is the implementation of these technologies? What worked particularly well, and where did you have challenges? So what did you learn technically in building out the solution? And again, going alphabetically, I'm going to put Alex on the spot first.
Cool, thanks, Lynn. There's a ton I can share, so I'll try to get through it as quickly as possible. I started building Enable Play at the sort of prototype level around Microsoft and Azure from the beginning. So a number of different .NET apps, Xamarin apps, using Visual Studio to do the development, and then using Azure Cognitive Services for doing speech recognition, as well as computer vision for being able to detect different facial expressions and positions. In the end, I wanted to give people the ability to control games hands-free and make those games accessible. And it grew into something that is helping students and people going through therapy as well, and continues to help in gaming. The problem that I sort of faced around those types of technologies in their original sort of implementation at the prototype level is a lot around performance. How can I stream someone's audio and have it recognized fast enough in order for it to actually take action in a game in real time? Or how can I stream every frame of someone's face on a camera moving or changing expressions and have that be able to fire off an event in someone's game or in an app or in any sort of computer or console? I then sort of took that back and focused on using Azure machine learning tools to build models that I could run on the edge. So rather than running everything in the cloud and streaming data, it's all running right here in this little box, which has a lovely little CPU in it. It's powered by the Raspberry Pi compute module, but the models are all built and generated around data available in the public, as well as personalized data on the fly, and using a mix of Azure to train the models, as well as manage my deployments and continue to handle the real-time communication over the internet through Azure App Service, running a .NET 6 API on Linux App Service, as well as SignalR service for handling WebSocket connections between the mobile app that you use to control it and the camera that you use and the device itself. From there, we also use GitHub and GitHub Actions in order to manage our deployments to those different places. And then we basically match that up with IoT pipelines in order to send updates to the devices themselves, which means that me as a single developer can manage a platform full of a number of different both scalable application development features, as well as AI and machine learning models as a single person that's available on Windows, on Mac OS, on iOS and Android, all powered by .NET, as well as my code that's running directly on the device at the firmware level. So it's empowered me to build something that is now creating a number of different use cases for everyone else that's using these devices for gaming, in schools, at therapy sessions, at home, ranging from every sort of different type of disability to even fully able-bodied people that want to create new immersive experiences and control their games with their face, and sort of lean left and right to lean around corners, or duck to duck a game, or be able to use real-time voice in order to simplify things. I even use it myself when building the technology in a sort of meta way. I use voice commands in order to do some of the complex things in Visual Studio and in VS Code. For example, I don't even have to go into like the VS Code integrated terminal and then go type out like my Python run in order to, or run my Python test, or open up the test explorer in Visual Studio. I literally just be like, oh, go run the tests, and it'll kick it off all right in front of me. Or I can even just say open code, or switch files, or create a new Python script, or create a new class in this folder, and actually have it go take action for me. So both making things like games accessible, while also making things that are otherwise difficult, like creating complex programs, something that can be simplified and get a little bit faster from that sort of like thought to the actual human-computer interaction, and to create those types of interactions in a way that can work for anyone. If you don't have the ability to use your voice, that's fine, don't. If you don't have the ability to use your hands, use what you can. Use your face expressions, use your voice, and even in our sort of latest update, supporting nonverbal people being able to still use audio tones in order to generate inputs, which is a great tool for people like speech therapists to be able to do things like detect the different oohs, ahs, and ee sounds, as well as then gamify that experience, not just go through repetitive exercise after exercise of getting someone to make the right sound or make the right facial expression, but actually play like Minecraft with that, and give the parents the tools to also help their children do the same thing at home, to create that repetition in a place that's not just during the therapy session. It's all powered by Azure on the machine learning and API side, as well as in the deployments. And all of those things together are helping me as an individual help so many other people in all sorts of different ways.
Well, all I can say is wow. It's impressive what you've built. When I listen to you and think about what you've built, I think of fast edge AI for good. Really leveraging the capabilities that are built into Azure machine learning so that you can get your application to the users faster, really focusing on those capabilities and then leveraging IoT pipelines as well. Again, utilizing parts of the platform because you're a small dev team. Is it just you? Is it just one guy?
Just me doing the development right now for the time being, yes.
Wow, super impressive. Well, thank you for sharing your story. Gosh, I could listen to you all day, but we have a limited time. So let's switch out and let's have Brendan talk about his technology next.
Yeah, we're a little bit less tech savvy than Alex's solution. What was really important for us is being able to use low code, no code tools. So my team has used the Power Platform for a number of years in a lot of different projects, but I'll just hit on our COVID response. So when the pandemic first started, it was really challenging to know what was going on in each of the countries we work. And so what we did was we built a SharePoint site that we shared with internal and external partners to draft and store different kind of clinical protocols and later vaccine advocacy tools. Sorry. But also as kind of public data on the number of cases, deaths, and vaccines became more accessible, we used Power Automate to pull that data from various sources into a SharePoint folder where people could kind of interact with the raw data as they'd like. But then we used Power BI to pull that data from those SharePoint locations, combine the data, normalize it into the same format, and ultimately filter it down to just the country data that we want, or even regional data. And then with Power BI, we were able to create metrics so we could have more kind of normalized and understanding what the burden of disease was. So things like cases per million, deaths per million, mortality rate, vaccination rate. All of those helped us understand the relative burden of the disease in each country we were working in. So ultimately then we still had to decide what to do with all this information. So we had daily calls and then after a while we switched to weekly calls, but this Power BI with all this data really served as our base for all those calls each day. So we started with that, understanding, what's the problem, where's the burden, and then we start talking about how do we shift supplies, how do we deploy different protocols in the health facilities we work in. Then very soon after the pandemic started, we got involved in Massachusetts contact tracing program, and we hired 2,000 staff over the first 3 months. And we just didn't really have systems in place to manage a lot of things. So I used a series of forms, flows, SharePoint list, Power BI, kind of linking all these Power Platform tools together to keep track of things like were our staff attending trainings? Were they up to date on protocols? Did they need to change their schedules? Did they have promotions? Or are we hiring new people and different personnel changes? And then eventually for our kind of complex contact tracing, when we were investigating clusters, so kind of areas where there were lots of cases popping up, that became a really high priority. And so we used the Power Platform to facilitate collecting information on those clusters. We also used OneNote as a searchable knowledge base, so staff could access all those previous trainings and protocols. And then one thing that I hadn't done before, but was kind of a cool way we solved for a lot of need from our staff, was that we deployed a Teams channel to serve as a sort of live help desk. And then we built this mentor team who were basically staffing that Teams channel, and people would just ask their question. They're on the phones with cases and contacts who are going through a myriad of different situations. And then the mentor would try to guide them towards the best fitting protocol to apply to that situation. And then we continued kind of getting more interest from other states and municipalities, and we just brought all of these tools to those same use cases. So it really became this cross-country, across the globe. All of our COVID work was centralized on the Power Platform, and making sure these tools were accessible. And then, unlike Alex, I was able to teach new people how to use these tools, because it would not have been sustainable if I had to build all of these tools across all these use cases, and trying to manage and maintain and upgrade them. So that was a big win for us, that I could spend a little time orienting people, giving them the basics, and then they could kind of go from there.
You know, it's so interesting to hear. Thank you, Brendan. Again, the audience may know that I did some work many years ago during the HIV crisis in Zambia. And at that time, again, it was similar, because medical crisis, you know, like the COVID crisis, and you have all these people that you need to be part of the team, and you know, they need productivity. And it was a very similar pattern we had, because at that time we made extensive use of Excel and pivot tables, and we really just used the Office platform. So it kind of feels like it's sort of a similar story, but sort of the modern version is now we have more tools in the Office platform. Also, it's really interesting to take note of Brendan's ability to do data analysis. I don't know if you guys all, because these stories are so rich, if you caught his financial background. So he applied his analytic skills using these tools really to their ultimate degree. And then he was able to leverage that in the service of human health. So again, it's so fascinating to me to hear these different technologies. You know, Alex is doing, you know, machine learning at the edge, and Brendan is doing scale out through the Power Platform. But we're not done with our stories. We have one more. So next up is Yagan, who is going to talk more about the work he and Kathleen are doing.
Thanks, Lynn. Hello, everyone again. At RTI, as Kathleen mentioned, we're looking to empower RTI's mission with cloud technologies and automation. One of the critical needs the enterprise architecture group at RTI encountered is the sheer number of complex point-to-point integrations. So we identified a need for an API framework capable of streamlining these integrations and the necessity of a centralized system for maintaining these streamlined integrations. We selected Azure Integration Services for the implementation of the framework, and implemented it with the help of Microsoft. We established development, non-prod and prod environments, and an Azure DevOps process for the framework. Some RTI teams already use some of the automation features, and one of the biggest integrations projects is currently underway with this framework and Microsoft Dynamics as the central focus. We are pleased that we can build a system in a relatively short time frame of 6 months to a year. And we are looking forward to ensuring that future RTI integrations are not just effective. We want to increase speed of delivery, reduce costs, and increase the reliability. These are goals that will enable our business partners to do even better work in their service to humanity. And this actually, I try to simplify, what we've been doing, but a lot of work involved. Kathleen and I know that personally, teams come to us for this setup, and this is the first time we're implementing this kind of framework. So we have to go through a lot of challenges and work in collaboration with Microsoft to overcome, those challenges. For example, Logic Apps standard version is the first version, first of its type, and that's the one we are implementing at RTI. So we had to go through many challenges through that, but fortunately we have Microsoft, working with us all the time and helping us. So it's kind of evolving, and we are learning as we go, and and also helping our teams. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, gosh, It's really a fast trip, isn't it, through all these different journeys. The thing that I really hear in the RTI story is the application of enterprise patterns, things like CI/CD, which you don't normally see in service of data for good. You don't normally see that enterprise level of maturity, API factories, partnerships with Microsoft. And what that enables is, again, the use of data for good. So there's more information that you can get about all these 3 stories that are available. And also, we have those little technical glitch in the beginning, but do vote for your preferred charity, because in the spirit of this session, Microsoft is going to make a contribution. Thank you.